I am Joey Sartes Salceda. I am on my second term as governor of the province of Albay. The province of Albay has 1.2 million and faces a lot of hazards and vulnerabilities. We have a very active volcano called Mayon volcano, which erupts almost every 3 years. The country faces 19 to 21 typhoons a year, 5 of which hit our province. Right now, we're facing a different kind of disaster from a climate-related phenomenon called tail end of the cold front. We have 464 kilometers of coastlines, which faces the risk of sea level rise and storm surges. Our population clusters are situated between 2 fault lines, so we're highly critical to landslide as well as to earthquakes. Because of this, the province of Albay is called the Vatican of disasters in the Philippines. But because of what we're doing to face them, it's also the adaptation capital of the country. Adaptation per se should allow development to proceed in the midst of all the disaster risks. What is important in what we're doing is that we were able to link disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation to our vision and goal as a province. The goal of Albay is to become the most livable province. A good environment, good schools, good hospitals, and our people being well-educated, well-trained, and happy people. The disasters due to climate change and other geological risks essentially pose a major challenge. Albay is probably the first province that linked disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation to MDG goals, as well as an improvement in our Human Development Index. In order to implement this, we institutionalized not just 1 but 3. First, for PreDisaster, we have the Center for Initiatives and Research on Climate Adaptation. And for the disaster response, we have the Albay Public Safety and Emergency Management Office, which is APSEMO. And post-disaster, we have the AMDG, or the Albay Millennium Development Goals Office. In order to support the operations, the provincial government of Albay has allocated every year 9% of our total organic budget. When we prepared our 6-year provincial development infrastructure program, almost 80% of the entire provincial development infrastructure program are DRR related. We're talking about elevated road systems that will make roads continuously passable despite floods, landslides, as well as lahar mud flow movement. We have a maximum defense dikes for Legazpi City, a river diversion channels for the 3rd district, and a comprehensive Legazpi City flood control projects through pump stations as well as for floodgates. We have integrated disaster risk reduction not just in the disaster response but even in the development planning process. The second one after planning is our geostrategic intervention. The bulk of Albay's economic activities as well as population is located near the volcano and at risk to mud flow, as well as very heavy in terms of their coastal population. So the province is now investing in infrastructure program through a new airport and trying to shift the expansion of our economic activities towards a safer location for habitation as well as for business formation. In short, this is building back better elsewhere. The economic platform is not just our principal economic program, it is also our principal DRR program, because this is in response to the comprehensive land use plan that was put in place in order to guide not just the activities of the province but also of the private sector. Then we also relocated in Albay 10,076 households through a partnership not just with the national agencies but also with bilateral partners, especially from Europe as well as from the US, and engaging the local government units, the local communities in implementing these projects. Then if you cannot relocate because of resource constraints as well as socio-cultural resistance, then we have instituted the preemptive evacuation. In the province of Albay, we have set decision rules as well as the entire ecosystem to support evacuating when the weather is still good. We don't evacuate in signal number 3, we evacuate at signal number 1. We have achieved 0 casualty for the past 4 years. 2 big typhoons, Typhoon Loling and Typhoon Rusing. And these are 240 kph, 400 mm in rainfall content. But the whole Bicol region except Albay had casualties. So preemptive evacuation is definitely our principal response instrument. Adaptation is important because it implies targeting of the vulnerable. Reducing disaster risks is the duty of the state. It cannot be outsourced, it cannot be delegated, but it can be partnered. What is quite primordial during a disaster response is really the rights of people and therefore the duties of the state. And therefore, our partner essentially empowers the poor to exercise their right in order to force the state to perform its duty. So on PreDisaster, we've had a lot of partners like Manila Observatory, Christian Aid, especially in early warning systems, as well as community-based disaster management, CBDRM. During the disaster response, we've had a lot of partners that help us essentially in maintaining our evacuation centers. And on the post-disaster, essentially during early recovery and rehabilitation, we partner with the entire UN system, especially for the provision of shelter as well as provision of livelihood programs. But what is critical really is the institutional credibility. What distinguishes Albay from many other provinces is our very strict DDAS, or the Disaster and Damage Assessment System. We implement a lot of protocols. Because of this very robust disaster assessment system, we are able to present a recovery plan wherein I think the donor community is more responsive. The AMDG actually provides leadership in the post-disaster response. In general, it is this combination of one, having an institution to deal with rehabilitation, which also manages our social assets program. Second, we use the cluster approach, essentially for rehab projects. And third is our open city framework, which invites everyone. Okay, we will not make it hard for you to help our evacuees. Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. For the past 4 years, Albay is possibly the only province in the Philippines that has achieved most of its MDG goals ahead of schedule, ahead of 2015. And number two, we have seen a rise in business investments. And number three, even our educational outcomes are showing that our national achievement test from number 177, we're now ranked number 64. So we virtually jumped and leapt. So I think DRR makes sense and it works. And if there's one thing, I think it's politically feasible too. In 5 out of 6 elections I've done, I was unopposed for doing RR, DRR. Make MDG a goal, DRR follows.